So, with our first day of investigating behind us, it's now time to wake up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on this very fine Boxing Day to continue our investigation. Now, you might already notice that it is a very ungodly early hour, and there is a very good reason that we are up so very, very early. Though before we get to all that, as it is a brand new day, there's some things we have to take care of first. Yeah, Matthew is just holding in all those bodily fluids all day, and as you can imagine, he probably has started to smell a bit. And with all that out of the way, there is just one final thing to get out of the way for our morning ritual. And that's going to be right outside of his shack. Yeah, I'm not sure at this point if we've actually learned the name of this little pup around here. And it's always good to start our day with a little bit of canine love. I don't know, hopefully we should figure out a name for this dog at some point. But yeah, with all that out of the way, it's now just time to wait. The next thing we have to do is not until about 5:45, and, well, since we can only skip ahead increments of hours, yep, just gonna have to stand here like a normal person staring at nothing. Once 5:45 does roll around, we do get an unexpected phone call. And yet again, it is our friend Winona. It seems she wants to catch up with us if we are heading to Kathy's funeral. And since we did make sure to head up to the church yesterday, we know perfectly well that it is occurring today at, I think, 9:30 a.m. Though I guess this is another reminder to, I guess, at least give you a hint that Kathy's funeral is at some point today. Kathy, though, she's not really going to be looking for a ride from us. She likes to get in that cardiovascular exercise. But she will at least meet us at the cemetery. As you can imagine, though, if you are asleep, you will miss this phone call, and even if you are awake and you miss the phone call, she'll just appear outside of your shack. It's very weird. But you might also recall yesterday that we learned that at 7 a.m. they are going to go on another bear hunt, and that's exactly where we are going to be heading next. Though we do have to waste a little bit of time before that event actually starts. Once we do get to the forest entrance, though, you can already tell that there are some people already here for the event. Just across the bridge, it's a bit hard to make out, but I think that's Captain Nas and Sheriff Morgan. Problem is, we aren't going to be able to head over there due to Officer Roadblock here. Yeah, he's just as adamant about Morgan about not letting anybody into the forest, but we really need to get in there, so there is a little trick I know of, and that's the fact that Officer Roadblock here has been standing out in this cold all night, and he's not really had a bathroom break. And I can only imagine that standing next to this rushing water is just really bringing him to mind of the fact that really probably needs to go. But Officer Roadblock is also pretty much like clockwork, and he will only go to the bathroom at a very specific point in time. Just coincidentally, that time also happens to be whenever the forest hunt starts. So yeah, with this little bit of dialogue, that means that nature is ready to call. We just need to lure him into a false sense of security. Once he is fairly certain that we are no longer around, we need to make a run for it. Yeah, he's pretty astute about the fact that we are going to try to make a break for it. And bear in mind, you are still in control when it switches to that weird camera angle, and if he does catch you, yeah, you're not going to be able to make your way into the forest to hopefully join the hunt. Now that we are here, though, we can try to plead our case with Sheriff Morgan. Though he does kind of take the sensible route here and states, you know, you're a young guy, you're not really trained, we don't want to put you into a dangerous situation, we don't want to let you into dangerous bear forest here. But Nas has I don't want to say overconfidence in his nephew and his ability to use a gun. And I guess, you know, there is something to say about a certain level of enthusiasm on Matthew's part. But I still honestly I side with Morgan here that it's probably not the best idea to let some untrained civilian just join their party. Still, it doesn't honestly take that much poking and prodding before Morgan is more than happy to let us join him in his in the bear hunt. And I wish the fact that Nas was here was any type of reassurance, but Nas does not cut that imposing of a figure, really. Really, I feel more secure by the fact that avid woodsman and forest ranger Cohen is here with us. And in fact, he uses his extrasensory forest perception to know that the bear is somewhere nearby. And while Morgan thinks it might be a good idea for everybody to stick together, Cohen thinks that it might be better to act more quickly if they are just in smaller groups. So Morgan and Nas are going to go off by themselves, and we are going to go off with avid woodsman Cohen. And while Morgan was nice enough to let Matthew come along on this little excursion, he definitely does not want Matthew just wielding a gun all willy-nilly out there. Can only imagine that everybody will be on pins and needles in this expectation of a dangerous, ferocious bear out there. Still, as we are going to be joining up with the more avid woodsman, we're going to have to trust in Cohen that he'll be able to protect us. So we have roughly 30 minutes to try to locate this bear, and if either one of our parties finds said bear, fire your gun into the air. The point of this is just to drive the bear away back into the deeper wilderness, not to kill it. Which is, you know, I appreciate that. Like, even though there is the thought that the bear did attack Kathy, they don't really full-on blame the bear. It's just meant to be hibernating right now. It's probably hungry and angry and confused. So it's good. That's a good positive message. Except Nas very much seems very into his bloodlust and wanting to satiate that. But yeah, well, we'll leave Morgan and Nas to their own devices. Because for right now, it's merely a matter of following behind Cohen here as we go on the hunt for some clues as to where this bear is. Now, I'm not 100% certain if that 30-minute, time limit is an exact one. I didn't let it run out. I do assume, though, that there is like a failure state for this hunt. Maybe if you wait until like 7:40, they'll decide, hey, we didn't find anything, we'll try again another day. Yeah, it's pretty thick foliage around here. Lots of trees. Very obstructing to our view. Assume, though, it does make sense that a bear might be somewhere deep out here, hiding away from us. For long, though, it appears that Cohen, using his preternatural, forest abilities, he feels something. Maybe it's some ways that the wind flows through the trees, or the water rushing around in the background. Just something tells him that bear has to be somewhere nearby. So he is going to need our help to figure out where we need to head to next. And it is a bit difficult to find the clue, though it is pretty nearby. Yeah, there's a strange little texture here on the ground. And on closer inspection, it turns out to be bear tracks. So this is a clue about where we are needing to head to next. Yeah, this is definitely a nice, differing change of pace from what we dealt with in the first day, where we were kind of rushing about, driving all over town, just kind of talking to random people. The one thing I will give this game, it has a lot of variety to its adventure. For long, though, it seems like we've run out of tracks. In the end, though, it does lead us directly to where Cohen had found Kathy 2 nights ago by now. And it's being here that he recounts even more of what he saw whenever he found Kathy. The tree had been set up as some type of altar. Stone surrounding the place, a burning fire with Kathy as the centerpiece of some strange altar. Seems like some important stuff he would have told Morgan, but yeah, I guess it was more important to just try to say bear attack and death by trauma. Still, we don't really have time to linger on that. We need to find another clue to keep our bear search in the right gear. And as you can imagine, with this very large tree here being the focal point of this area, the next clue is right around the back of the tree. Right, these deep scratch marks, they are very much from the bear that we are looking for. Whether or not, though, they were actually from the night of the attack or something more recent, it seems like maybe the bear was trying to mark its territory here, probably to warn people from coming into this area. Yeah, it seems like possibly the other party has maybe run into the bear. Now it's simply a mad sauntering dash after Cohen here. We need to locate where that bear or that gunshot came from. Sadly, it's a bit hard to tell with how the noise is in this forest here. All I can really hear is the overwhelming rush of water from the nearby falls. Before long, though, we stumble across a fairly grisly scene. Freshly killed deer. Question is, where is this deer's head? Ah, found it. So, I'm not overly familiar with bears in the wild, but I feel like around all this snow and all this particular ground, I feel like we would have heard a bear coming, unless this is the stealthiest 600-pound bear ever, which just goes back to theory. This bear is an intelligent killing machine. Also, Cohen has no idea what distracting means, because this bear has no care about Cohen at all. He cares about us, and that's why we need to get the fuck out of here. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to where Cohen's been leading you, you could easily be super turned around here because he was just running around in circles, and there's a lot of open area out here in the woods. But realistically, if you can find your way back to this little trail here that we were following before, getting back to the cabin, not that difficult, and also the bear is pretty slow, though if it does catch you, it's just a game over. Good thing is, we may manage to make it back pretty easily back to the cabin, where we can hide in safety from the bear. At least that's what a coward would do. But no, we are Matthew. We are trained with a gun, so we would normally be ready for combat if we actually had any shells for this shotgun. Lucky for us, though, right next to the gun is a cabinet full of shotgun shells. And while the cabinet is locked, to a normal person, we have our smashing ability. And just barely in the nick of time, we managed to load up our shotgun, ready for a tete-a-tete with this dangerous, murderous bear here. And yeah, we are pretty much immediately shoved into one of the first QTEs of the game. And probably another reminder of how deep down this game really reminds me of Shenmue, though I think this game came out before all that series did. But yeah, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is press the buttons, or the face, buttons on the controller in accordance with whatever's shown on screen. If you take too much time, the barrel will swat you, do a little bit of damage. You can see Matthew's health bar in the lower left. And while the initial stages are pretty easy with just a single or, double tap of the controller buttons, later on, we're getting up to 4 different button presses, and you do have to press them pretty quickly, otherwise the bear will continue to do more and more damage to you. But with enough persistence, we are able to take down this dangerous monster of the forest. Though I can't really call it a monster. It's just a normal animal. It's a wild animal. But I don't think it really meant to do us any harm. I think we had just invaded its area, maybe interrupted its early morning meal, and yeah, it went on the defensive. In the end, though, Cohen, though he did take a little bit of damage from the bear, he apparently is all right and back at the hospital. And while initially, there might be some feeling of retribution for the fact that we took down this bear that had attacked Kathy and still possibly might have attacked Emma, still kind of weighing on Matthew the fact that he had to kill this poor animal. In the heat of the moment, you can think to yourself, it's just kill or be killed, survival of the fittest, but, it's just a sad turn of events. This bear didn't have to die. There's just no other way around it in this particular situation. Morgan pulling out some of this heartfelt knowledge that the bear, was just trying to survive. It's mankind that really just kills for fun and sport, or for its own selfish means. Still, even though we did take down the bear, and we know the bear had some connection with Kathy's injuries, maybe not her death, obviously, obviously not why she ended out in the forest in the first place. Still no closer to finding any kind of truth around Emma. Just a kind of an overall solemn moment, sombering I think as well. Probably not the best way to start a morning. Before we go, though, we do want to take a closer look at the bear, though. Because outside of just dealing with our own emotions about mortality and taking something else's life, it does appear that there is something caught underneath the bear here. With a little bit of finagling, Matthew is able to get it out. And what we end up finding is a mysterious-looking necklace. Apparently, it seems to have some relation to the native tribes of the area. And I don't think this bear was very big on jewelry. It probably was from someone he attacked. And from Matthew's deep knowledge about Emma, he knows very much that she would not have worn such a necklace, so more than likely, it's probably Kathy's. Though in the end, that just kind of brings up into question, was Kathy really big into Native American jewelry? We have no idea. But Morgan will take the necklace and go ask Father Barton about that. And I kind of get the impression that they were saying that maybe the necklace was jammed up into the bear's paw, and that might have been aggravating the bear even more. It's a bit difficult to say. But it does make me feel even more sympathy for this poor animal. Still, for now, that's all we really need to do in the forest. I would like to just sit here and soak up all the winter wonderland, wildness of this place. But this won't be the last time we will be venturing out into Barrow's Forest. Also, I'm very confused about how this cop car got in here, but we'll worry about that later. For right now, we need to head over to the hospital. Which, believe it or not, only opens at 8 a.m., so hopefully you don't have any overnight emergencies, because apparently you'll be SOL on that avenue. But yeah, the reason that we want to head over to the hospital specifically is to pretty much hit up Dr. Samuel. Though before we can really do that, we have to have a conversation with good old Barbara here. And as you can imagine, it will be as fruitful as some of the conversations we had yesterday. And believe it or not, there is some slight bits of humor here and there sprinkled throughout the game. Probably doesn't pick up so well with just the fact that we just murdered a bear and probably almost died. Yeah, the reason that Barbara made sure to catch our attention as we were heading up to Dr. Samuel's office is, she's still on the lookout for some of her sweet, sweet nicotine. And we had to remind her, because she might have some levels of senility, that we do not smoke. We are underage, barking up the wrong tree. And it's here that, she snaps back at us, shows us that, she might not be as senile as she comes across. It's not so much that she's asking to bum a cigarette off of us. She is saying, hey, you guy with good working legs, bring me smokes. And while you might get that as an audience member, I might get that as a person playing, yeah, Matthew kind of has to be beaten over the head with the idea that this is just a fetch quest. Barbara is saying, hey, I can do a trade with you. If you get me the smokes, I might be able to, do a little something for you. Thankfully, she has no qualms about holding back on poor Matthew here. And dope is for dopes, heavy smoking is the pits. Don't drink and drive, and any number of PSAs can fit in here. Though, as we all know, Barbara is a thinking, fully formed adult. She can make her own life decisions, and in fact, she's probably been making those life decisions for a very long time at this point. And while Matthew does not have an appreciation for the finer things in life, I personally do enjoy Barbara. Still, as we do our best to exit out of this conversation, Barbara really wants to make sure that we understand there's going to be a little give and take here. But she's going to be a little smooth about it. Hey, Matthew, my birthday is in 2 days. Wink, wink. But Matthew is thick as a Barrows forest pine tree. He does not get it. But she does give us a nice invitation to said birthday party. It's going to be happening on the 28th in the evening. Definitely want to jot that down, keep that in mind. And while Matthew says that we will be busy investigating our kidnapped or missing friend, don't want to make too many guesses about that, Barbara wants to remind us, hey, I know about Emma. You can ask me about her at the party. Wink, wink. So yeah, if we come to the birthday party, we can learn a little bit more about Emma and the conversations she had with Barbara. The one caveat is we cannot come without a birthday present. So you can probably already guess what we need to secure to make our way into this lavish shindig known as Barbara's B-Day Bash. And we definitely don't want to be of the mindset of Matthew. We definitely do want to go to that party, so we do want to secure some cigarettes at some point before the 28th. Still, like I said, our primary reason for heading to the hospital is mostly to talk to Dr. Samuel, because pretty much right after we took care of the bear, it was transported to the nearest medical facility, which is the hospital. And the assumption is that we can probably talk to the head doctor to see if maybe they had gleaned any more information from the bear cadaver. And as you can imagine, being the director of the hospital comes with some pretty nice perks, such as a very lavish office. Yeah, Dr. Samuel does reaffirm our curiosity. Indeed, it seems like the claw wounds that were found on Kathy do match the claws of the bear. And, I mean, Matthew does make a good inquiry here. Can we figure out anything from the bear carcass in relation to Emma? Like, was Emma attacked? And to me, I'd say maybe, is there anything on the claws that could match Emma's DNA? I don't know. I doubt they would have, any kind of DNA medical research equipment here. But yeah, Matthew thinks that, hey, maybe you could find Emma's skull inside the bear's stomach, and yeah. Dr. Samuel shoots that down pretty promptly. I think we kind of already learned from Cohen, bears don't want to eat people. Like, even if they're hungry, they don't really see people as food, which is good for people, because I don't want to live in fear of being eaten by a bear. And yeah, Dr. Samuel tries to make us feel even more stupid by saying that even if the bear attacked Emma, her body would have been found with Kathy's. We're not dealing with a bear criminal mastermind. And even if we were, the bear is dead, so that kind of closes that door on that sweet, sweet plot possibility. Just stealth murder mastermind bears roaming the forest. Sadly, yeah, not the case. Also, it's a good idea, like I said, to make sure and check the bear before you leave the forest, because once the bear leaves the forest, it goes straight to Captain Nas, where I assume he might cut it up for meat, make it into a nice hat or a throw rug. It's a bit difficult to say. We don't know the inner workings of Captain Nas's mind or what he does for his hobbies, though Samuel does seem to have his worries in regards to that. And what a stranger might mistake for just an unsatiated bloodlust. Yeah, Matthew just wants to say he just likes to hunt in secret. Which I don't want to go into the possibility that Uncle Nas might be some nefarious entity yet in the story, but there is that possibility, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely a good idea that you make sure and find that necklace before, the bear gets taken away forever. It is, I think, going to be a very important point going forward in the story. For now, though, we are pretty much all done in the hospital for this point in the day. And I think, yeah, the funeral probably is going to be another hour and 10 minutes. And if I recall the map, the cemetery is actually not too far away. So it does kind of work out to some degree that we came over here, learned about Barbara's B-Day birthday bash in just 2 days. We're able to have a quick discussion with Samuel before we head over to our next second uplifting fun event of the day after the bear hunt. It's to head over to the nearby cemetery for Kathy's, I'm going to say, very, very early funeral. And it definitely doesn't really do us any harm to get here a little bit early. We do still have to navigate and figure out where the funeral is being held in the cemetery here. Once we do notice the few people, this looks like the place. And I would say this is a pretty small crowd for a funeral, but what we've learned from Kathy so far is that she didn't really have much in the way of social interaction. Still at 9:30 prompt is when the funeral does start. And definitely, if I haven't mentioned it yet, I really do enjoy some of the more cinematic takes and camera angles and just settings that they have for some of these cutscenes in this game. Really gives the feel that it's more just you looking at a static scene and more, it's more of a scene from a movie or something like that. But yeah, amongst some of the few other new people that have shown up since that cutscene started, the one person in question is this mysterious figure by the tree. Now, since neither Winona or Matthew have a good knowledge of Kathy, can't be for certain that this is a friend of Kathy's. She definitely sticks out here at the funeral. She could just be one of those people that has some weird fascination with death and going to funerals. In the end, though, we do find out that Winona came less for altruism and more to try to uncover some facts, possibly linking Kathy and Emma. And I would kind of scold her for that and say, like, how dare you? But I think that's also kind of the reason that we came here as Matthew. But much like the speed at which Father Barton decided to bury Kathy here, the funeral is over pretty quickly. And just like we kind of spotted this woman as being sore thumb sticking out amongst all the tombstone, she also found us to be kind of odd ducks here. Mostly because, yeah, Kathy didn't have any friends. So, who are these two random high schoolers at the funeral? Well, it turns out that this woman, with her steely gaze, yet another nice usage of, these are pretty low poly models. They don't look great, but you can get some feel of emotion, some interaction between the characters, and just very subtle things like the father just dead eye staring at this woman. But yeah, Loretta apparently had some passing conversations. It was more of a sounding board to Kathy than a friend. But with Father Barton coming by, she is more than happy to get the hell out of here. More than likely, something that Kathy told her made her a bit distrusting towards the father here. And likewise, Father Barton doesn't really have a high opinion of Loretta. She goes out partying all the time, and he remarks that, much the same way that Emma told Winona, you're just not a party girl. You don't go out at night, you don't have fun. Also, he kind of brushes off the possible interaction between Kathy and Loretta, I guess to try to drive us from, looking more into Loretta, but definitely she's one of the few other people we've heard that have had any real interactions with Kathy, so we are going to want to follow up with her at some point, though the father is not very helpful with helping us to figure out where we might be able to locate Loretta. Also, to top off the fun time funeral, he does pang us with a little bit of guilt, saying, Kathy might be dead, but she might still have been alive if, you or Winona were actually her friend. Aw. Yeah, and with that, I'm ready to get out of this funeral. So this scenario here, Father Barton is not really rubbing me the right way, and I'm sure we have other places to be on today. Also, I would offer Winona a ride to wherever she is going. I'm guessing she has other things on her mind and other plans that she wants to go do. And believe it or not, even though she is just walking, she cuts a pretty brisk pace through town. Though I am a bit concerned with the complete lack of sidewalks in Mizzurna Falls. I mean, with the way I drive, I've easily could have hit any number of people. Still, our next destination is right smack in the middle of town, back at Captain Naz's Emporium here. Because amongst all of his dry goods and wares, he is the birthday present that we are needing for Barbara. The main problem is that, as you can imagine, with Matthew not being a prolific or even knowledgeable smoker, while he does know that cigarettes would be a perfect gift, it's still a bit of a question about which ones to get. It could be Virginia Slims, any type of mentholated accoutrement to put in your mouth. Maybe she wants chewing tobacco instead. Instead, we decide to go with the comedically named Blue in the Face brand. Apparently, it's a popular brand, possibly with senior citizens. And to go along with Captain Nas being a pretty cool guy, teaching us how to use a gun and go on dangerous bear excursions, he doesn't seem to have any qualms with the fact that we might be smoking, even though Matthew is, as always, a straight shooter. Instead, we reveal that these are going to be a wonderful birthday gift for an elderly lady in the hospital. And miraculously, Nas knows exactly who we are talking about. It seems that Barbara is a pretty well-known person throughout the town. Possibly yet again bringing to mind the log lady from Twin Peaks. You wouldn't assume that most people would know just the crazy ouchie foot lady at the hospital. Apparently, though, she does have something of a sordid backstory. Something that gives her some level of sympathy from the townsfolk, though it managed to happen over 40 years ago. I guess that could go along with her sordid tales of the past that she told Emma and is offering to tell us. Still, Nas is not a gossip hound. He's not willing to go any further on the topic. But at least it allows us to learn a little bit more and know about the fact that there's something deeper going on with Barbara. Also, I did not expect that we would be buying a whole carton of cigarettes, but well, there you go. Also, even though I said I was pretty much done with Father Barton, the next place we need to head is all the way up to the church to get a somewhat important scene to the game. It appears that after the funeral, he was not done lamenting and feeling guilt about the death of his adopted daughter, Kathy. Though what he gets across in his own church is a little bit of a darker picture than what we were given at the funeral. Not only was he seemingly confessing his own sins, but he was also saying that Kathy was apparently a bit of a sinner as well. Though knowing the possible chaste nature of a priest, a father, whatever, sinning is a bit relative, I assume, to just a general layperson. But yeah, he gives us this deep philosophy that humans live under the constant yoke of sin and temptation, and it's only with death that you can just never sin anymore. So it's almost like a blessing that she's dead. Which, yeah, I don't think would have wowed them at the funeral to say that it was probably a great thing that your sinful offspring can no longer sin. And it also goes into the idea that, the greatest gift that God gave us is the ability of free choice, and it's also with that free choice that we choose either to live good lives or horrible, sinful lives. And yeah, it seems like the father here not only has his own yoke to bear, but also, yeah, he's got some deep inner turmoil going on. And as you can imagine, speaking this to Matthew, it's just kind of like talking to a dog. And he figures that it's not really worth his time anymore. It does at least give us a even more horrifying picture of the father here. Also, though we did just leave the general store, we do need to head all the way back down there, as there is a very important item that you can only get whenever Captain Nas is not actively at the storefront, which I think he goes to take a lunch break. But once he does, right on the counter here, we can see that there are some lighters for sale. And clearly, we can't just give somebody the gift of cigarettes without something to light up with, right? So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take the lighter here. Though being the good straight shooter that we are, we're not going to be thieves. We are going to pay for it. And it is going to be very important that we do hold on to this lighter. In fact, the lighter is so important, it actually gets its own little special slot in our inventory. So that will be good to keep in mind for the future, though for right now, I think after all the hunting and funerals, we've had enough excitement for the day. Hopefully you will join me next time as we head into the afternoon of day 2. See you then.